You may have heard of this fellow named Samuel Sosa, a
Yeah.
former Chicago Cub.
The guy
He
who's
has
been
not.
bleaching himself?
Well, he seems to look a little more normal these
Oh,
days. At
good.
least in the pictures I saw, a little less pale than you and I. But yeah, yes, one Sammy Sosa reared his ugly head in the city of Chicago for the first time in 17 years. And
Wow.
you and I know about this particularly because the last time he was in Chicago, he was with his Texas Rangers taking on the
Oh,
Chicago
God.
White
That
Sox.
was the last time he was in Chicago?
The last time he was in Chicago, you and I were in the stands witnessing
Uh,
Sammy, of all people, breaking up the perfect game of Mark Burley, who later went on to throw his first no hitter, fortunately for us, as we got to witness that in a cold May Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever
yeah,
night
it's
of the
like a
week that
Tuesday,
was.
Wednesday night. It was pretty much like the weather is right now in here.
Yeah.
Winds blowing, probably what, 10,000 people there, maybe 8,000.
Yeah.
I took Smitty
Few
because,
angry people there
yeah, well, one angry person for sure. I
in
took
particular,
Smitty.
yes.
Smitty agreed to go because he loves baseball. I couldn't get White
That's
Sox
me.
fans to go. I could not get White Sox fans to go to this game because they were too cold for them.
We were on a text chain and like, oh, let Sean will go or Craig will go or whoever. And I just got sick of it. And I said, I'll just go so we don't have to continue this text chain any longer. So I'm always up for a baseball game, even though the weather conditions weren't right. And I certainly was not rooting for either the White Sox or the Rangers or Sammy Sosa. But lesson to you all out there, kids. Always take up a free baseball ticket if you can, because you never know what the fuck's going to happen.
Yeah, I
And
was
Mark
a
Burley,
full season ticket holder back then.
that's right. Yeah, you were hardcore. Yeah, so that was quite an evening. That also happened to be the last time Sammy Sosa was in the city of Chicago. Until this past weekend, we're at some sort of autograph festival of sorts
Okay,
out in Rosemont. There,
all
Sammy
right.
Sosa agreed to show up because he could sell his autograph for $500 a pop.
What?
It was also an official media session where he would be interviewed by local media, and he made a statement talking about the long absence and his strained, to say the least, strained relationship with the Chicago Cubs since he left in 2004. Sammy said, "In the past, possibly I did it my way, and maybe I made some mistakes. But now that I have my 2 feet on the ground, I'm a better person to handle any conversation." To which the obvious follow up question would be, as Lou Canellis from Fox 32 put it, are you telling me that you recognize the fact that maybe you did steroids? At which point, Sammy Sosa appeared completely blindsided by the question, where he let out some nervous laughter, a lot of hems and haws. He seemed very confused, and he finally said, "Not a question I expected from you." Like, how could you not expect that question? The first time you're back in Chicago since 2007, you have not been allowed into the National Baseball Hall of Fame merely because of your steroid accusations. It's clear that steroids is the largest issue of your career, yet he was completely blindsided that someone would actually ask him about that. Specifically, when he said he wanted to take responsibility for the mistakes he had made. To which I wonder, what mistakes is he referring to that he was willing to talk about? Was he willing to talk about the corked bat that he was caught? Whatever year, believe that was 2004. You had a blast with that, at least in our fantasy league, naming or Corky's Revenge, I believe,
Yeah,
was your team
Corky's
name that year.
Revenge. Yes, Corky's
Yeah,
Revenge.
we didn't have a blog at that point, so you weren't able to mercilessly bash him for all that. But that would have been fun. I would have been on your side, of course, with that. Would it be that he's willing to admit he abandoned his team and his teammates on the final day of 2004,
I mean,
where
that's a
he
big
was?
one.
I was actually attending that game as well. The final game, I thought it was going to be a celebration of the 2004 Cubs going to the playoffs, except they collapsed that final week. Little
Hmm.
did I know, while I was witnessing that game, Sammy Sosa was heading out into the parking lot to get the fuck out in the fourth inning. There was a whole thing about that, which is hilarious. I'm sure we've recounted before, but He said he did not leave the game early, to which the Cubs actually released timestamp video footage of him in the parking lot during the middle of the game, getting into his vehicle and taking off, which makes me laugh just that the Cubs would go to that length to prove him to be such a phony and a liar. I don't know what else they had to gain by that, but that's the famous boombox incident where his teammates beat the fuck out of his boombox that was terrorizing them for an entire season, as his
Yes.
inflated ego thought it was good for him to play whatever music he wanted at at the highest volume that apparently nobody liked. And the rumor is that Kerry Wood was the perpetrator of the bat incident onto the boombox, which I cannot blame him at all. Other phony instances of Sammy's career is just, he famously ran out to right field to greet the fans before every game. He'd run out with American flags at times, and then when he was called in front of Congress, of course, for the steroid accusations, the steroid hearings, he pretended he couldn't speak English and had interpreters come out. So
That's my
just on
favorite.
every level, yeah, just on every level, Sammy Sosa is a total phony and a complete asshole. So I will make him our asshole of the week.
Yeah, now somehow I live in Chicago, Smitty, and I had not heard a thing about this.
I think you're
I
going to a lot of concerts and not paying
Yeah,
any attention to baseball
well,
these
I don't listen to
days.
sports radio at all right
Okay,
now.
that's all I
So
do. So maybe
yeah,
that's
so
why I'm
that's
tuned in.
probably why it wasn't. If it's not covered on the morning news or ESPN, then I'm not getting it. And I have to say, I can't. The arrogance that still persists with him is just, it's unbelievable. It's like to say to Lou Canellis, like basically, I didn't expect that question from you. Well, if it wasn't Lou, someone was going to ask that question, because you're basically sitting there saying, I'm ready to like admit I did a bunch of bad shit because I went about things my own way, and I'm willing to accept that. But you're not.
He says it, but then he won't admit what he did wrong. He just
Yeah.
says, I made some mistakes. And he just wants everyone to smile and buy his autograph for $500.
God, was it really $500 for his autograph?
He had a pricing list. Like there was different prices for a signed baseball or a signed photograph or a signed bat. It
Oh
was
my
a bunch of
God.
different things. So I might be wrong on that number there, but I'm averaging. I think it's pretty close. But
Jesus.
if he ever does get into the Cubs Hall of Fame, that price probably goes up to $600. I think is his thought process by trying to get back in the good graces of the Cubs and Cubs fans.
By admitting to nothing.
Yeah, I admit nothing. I admit everything and nothing at the exact same time.
Well, he doesn't really speak good English or understand English, so maybe it was just a translation problem, Smitty.
He speaks very fine English. I will. I was quite impressed with his English skills. So it's amazing. That's all I've got. Yes, Sammy, you are still and will always be a fucking asshole.
Wordhole Media.